I must say, I do think this is one of the most fascinating stories just in football at the moment. The Athletic did like a whole podcast on this alone. Obviously, in social media, it's a leading headline in the banter wars. That, of course, is Florian Wirtz. Recently record transfer player, huge high-profile move from Bayer Leverkusen to Liverpool, yet to register a goal or assist in the Premier League for the Premier League champions, surrounded by excellent players. Now, of course, the saga of Alexander Isak to Liverpool kind of helped Wirtz out a little bit in his transfer record was broken shortly after him, of course, because Alexander Isak is the Premier League record transfer signing now. And that's a huge story in itself. And of course, I think Isak has got a sort of assist in the Premier League now. He obviously got that assist for Cody Gakpo against Chelsea. It wasn't an intentional assist, by the way. I mean, look, I'm a massive fan of Alexander Isak. I think he's the best striker in the Premier League. I think he's a better footballer than Haaland. I think Haaland's a better goal scorer in the box, but yeah, let me get that out of the way. I'm not gonna mug him off at all. But what ended up being an excellent touch, what ended up being an excellent layoff assist for Gakpo was actually Isak. You could see it 100 million times, him attempting to bring the ball down, to basically take the ball down, which he actually does really well, but it just sort of comes off him to Gakpo. Look, it's not like, it hasn't bounced off his backside or whatever. It's through a bit of technical brilliance, but it wasn't a deliberate assist. Let's just get that out of the way now. So he's got that goal or assist in the Premier League, and look, we've all seen enough of Alexander Isak in the Premier League, in English football, playing incredibly well. So he's not under the microscope anywhere near as much as Florian Wirtz is, who was like, how much did he cost? It's like 120 odd million quid. What's that, 140 million euros? It's a lot of money. It was the transfer record, which previously was Moises Caicedo at Chelsea, who, by the way, is a hot topic over this international break, and everyone's, correctly waxing lyrical about Caicedo. No one's speaking about overspending there. But, of course, Alex Isak is relevant in this discussion because he came after. He was an additional transfer record. It was an even bigger saga. The Florian Wirtz is, will he go to Man City? Will he go to Liverpool? He eventually goes to Liverpool. He breaks the transfer record in terms of transfer cost. Huge story, but nothing on Isak. Isak, of course, refusing to play for Newcastle, being the most desirable striker that was on the market, that wasn't actually on the market, all that kind of stuff. Let me just sip my coffee. Decaf now, without that time of the afternoon. So, by the way, welcome back to the channel. How's it going? I am trying to upload every single day on talking about the big football stories, or the ones that I fancy speaking about, and it is Wirtz today. So, welcome back. If you enjoy the content, drop a like, comment, let me know. I am closing in on 20,000 subs on this channel. I haven't checked the number, but it is slowly dripping towards that 20k mark, which would be a lovely milestone for me here. So if you dig it, subscribe. Now, I've just got something up on my phone that I'm looking at here for reference. Last season, yeah, which was the season before he arrived in the Premier League, he had a good season. Of course, it wasn't the invincible double season. Sorry, there's cats staring each other down right outside my... What is happening? Oh no, there's a cat about to throw up, I think. That is so gross. That is so gross. Oh no, maybe just... Yeah, he's thrown up. He's thrown up relatively outside my door. And now he's just sitting there. You little bastard. Anyway... Usually I'd edit this out, but I'm going to keep it in because I just don't care. So Florian Wirtz, the season before he arrived at Liverpool, it wasn't the invincible double season where they also got to, of course, the Europa League final and didn't go over the line. Ademola Lookman dunked on them. Did he get a hat trick or something? But that was an amazing season for Wirtz. But they still had a really good season last campaign by Leverkusen standards. And I thought, all right, this is the season he's just come off that made Liverpool break the British transfer record for him. And I thought, oh, look at his stats. And I'm looking at like understat.com, which is a reference point. I won't show it to you because I'm not going to edit this video. Otherwise, I would have taken out the whole cat sick segment, which, hashtag unfiltered. So I looked at him and I thought, who's a similar player to him that's operating in the Premier League as a number 10? And the only real name that came to my head that I thought would be a good comparison is Bruno Fernandes. And I put him in, and they're pretty similar for all the numbers. Assists per 90 and goals per 90 is trumped by Florian Wirtz, but only by 0.12 for goals and 0.16 for goals. And actually, Bruno Fernandes makes more key passes per 90. Which made me think, Fernandes is playing in a way harder league, and he's playing for last season's iteration of Manchester United, which was absolute trash. It was awful. They sort of ascended to like the dizzying heights of 15th at the end of the season, of course, because Tottenham won the spoils in the awful Europa League final, so they had to put everything into winning their final game to ascend to the dizzying heights of 15th. That season, Bruno Fernandes pretty much was posting, quite similar numbers to Florian Wirtz that cost Liverpool transfer record. Now, this is fascinating because he's getting bantered all over the gaff on social media and stuff. And by the way, I don't think he's had a disaster class. I think if you've watched him generally in open play, you can see him doing like pretty darn good things, like a number 10 does. Obviously, his first touch in the last game, that game against Chelsea, the loss was that sort of spinning heel flick that could have been an assist for Salah, and that would have been a very deliberate assist, unlike perhaps the Isak assist. He's an amazing technician and player. This is not a video of me saying, oh my God, Liverpool have wasted, tens and millions, lots and lots of money on a player that's no good, can't hack it, and it's going to be embarrassing for them. Not at all. He is genuinely an amazing talent. He's like the star boy of German football. It's like him and Musiala, and actually Wirtz sort of overtook Musiala. It's kind of like him. In England, we've got a bunch, really, haven't we? Like, in terms of, we've got Bellingham, Foden, Palmer. I'm not going to say Saka because I'm talking about central players, and of course, Germany have wide players as well. So in terms of like attacking midfielders, we've got, you could even say like Gibbs White, Morgan Rogers and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot. But the two obvious ones in German football is Wirtz and Musiala. And Wirtz was the guy who was sort of outshining Musiala a little bit, who Bayern Munich wanted to buy, of course. Man City were looking at as well. So he is a superb talent, and I was kind of like pretty consistent in what I thought about, he himself has already said in an interview, I think German media, that in the Premier League you just don't have that extra bit of time where you do in the Bundesliga to express that immense talent that he's got, that creativity, that sort of, cultured footballing technique. You don't get the time in the Premier League. That's, there's no league on earth where you get less time to express said talent. But I never really was concerned with the idea of him coming to the Prem because unlike other footballers, there's certain Bundesliga players that rely so heavily on transitional football that you might not get that in the Premier League, especially if you're going to a good team that's going to have the ball. You're not going to have that space to run into. I think examples from Chelsea would be Timo Werner was probably the best example. You could say Nkunku to a degree, because he likes running into space. Havertz is a little bit different because he doesn't mind occupying defenders. But Wirtz is different in a way. He's not going to occupy defenders, but he's not going to be relied on to run into space because, especially space that's not there when you're playing for a massive superpower in the Prem like Liverpool. So I didn't think it was going to be an issue. Like, all right, well, he's not going to rely on Bundesliga transitional football, but he has been suffering with a lack of time on the ball, and I do actually want to give him some credit in terms of how I think he's played okay broadly, despite not scoring or assisting. But I think he's possibly gone to the wrong team. Like, it's all great in theory. Liverpool, like 4-2-3-1. If you can get him feeding Salah or feeding Isak. Like when the relationship between Florian Wirtz and Isak flourishes down that centre of attack, this will be the new era of Liverpool's attack. Because like the last true, I know they just won the league under Arne Slot, but it wasn't in the most like. How do I say this? There wasn't like a real obvious trademark fashion. Certainly nothing in comparison to Jurgen Klopp's Mane, Salah and Firmino. Like, I always talk about that great team. Super transitional at times, sometimes controlled, but obviously so much productivity down the flanks. Robertson, Trent, Mane, Salah. And then the middle of their pitch was facilitators, basically. A really functional midfield, and like the falsest of false nines in Roberto Firmino, who's amazing, who would get loads of assists, chip in the odd goal, and work really hard to facilitate the whip. It was like a real obvious identity. I've not really seen an obvious identity of Arne Slot's Liverpool last season when they were really good. I was almost like, well, he did great work with Gravenberch, Van Dijk, Alisson, Salah are in the form of their lives. They've won the league. They're all senior superstars. Whereas now they've obviously gone for, we're going to have an identity, we're going to have, this superstar striker up top that will gobble up goals for fun, that can sort of take the torch from Salah in terms of reliable finisher of moves in Isak, of course. And we're going to have this creative fulcrum, this superstar, free number 10 in Florian Wirtz, and they're going to go from like a 4-3-3, remove Szoboszlai from a free midfield, and then just play a double pivot and Wirtz in front. And it was kind of like a shrug YOLO thing. Do you know what I mean? I did think it was risky, and I don't want to put that much blame at Wirtz. I think he's a young lad, he's come to a league, he's done the classic, oh my god, there's no time in the Premier League compared to where it was. I think also because he's central. And again, I don't want to be too much of a Wirtz apologist here because, my team Chelsea, I've seen the likes of Steval come in and just frighten defences and look really, really confident. And he's never even played in Europe, let alone the Premier League. He was playing in the Brazilian league as a 17-year-old. He turns to 18, comes to the Prem, looks great. He looks like an amazing talent, And Wirtz is an amazing talent, but it is different. He's not like a wide attacker taking on his man and, known for just speed and directness. He is this sort of creative playmaking number 10, which is you've got to know all the movements of your teammates, you've got to understand the league better and how much time and space you have, but he has got immense technique. And I think genuinely, if he'd gone to a different Premier League team, and I suppose he only could have gone to Man City, so I guess he would have replaced De Bruyne if the City deal went through, and they wouldn't have signed Rayan Cherki, who's been out injured, who is an amazing creative talent himself. Yeah, I don't know, it's interesting, isn't it? Because Man City have been playing much more direct themselves, and, maybe Florian Wirtz setting up counter-attacks for Haaland. I wonder if Wirtz would have, got a better relationship with someone like Haaland rather than I know we haven't seen him on the pitch much with Isak, but I just, although he's not looked amazing so far and his performances hasn't been great, I think there's been flashes, and I do think he suffered from going into what seemingly an ever-increasing dysfunctional team in Liverpool. They look that way anyway. I'm sure Arne Slot will sort them out and they'll be in the title race this season. But of course, we've all enjoyed the 3 losses in a row as rival fans. And of course, he's been an easy target, Florian Wirtz, because huge transfer fee, no goals or assists in nine games or something like that. But I think he'll come good as a footballer in the Premier League, and we'll see. Oh, he's he's amazing. I don't think he's so young. He's just really, really good. So I think we'll see it. I think it's up to Arne Slot to make it work, and it'll be interesting to see how long Arne Slot is at Liverpool. Because if they do spend a lot of money on Gerhi in January, even though it will only be a 6-month buyout, there would have been hundreds of millions on him. And of course they're not going to sack Arne Slot despite some disgruntled Liverpool fans. But if he finishes out of the title race and doesn't win a trophy, will there be talk? That not because he's had an awful season and not winning a trophy, but because they've invested so heavily and they've got to get the best out of the likes of Isak, who I think was just so used to scoring goals and assisting goals in the Prem, he'll do it. But Wirtz, I think Wirtz will be a big one. because he's young, he's super talented, he's super expensive, and there's a lot of pressure to make it work. Anyway, is he the Wirtz player in the Premier League? Dumb joke. Anyway, let me know what you think. Thank you for liking and subscribing. I hope to see you back here soon. Peace.